let me call upon Mr. Satya Prakash. He's our next speaker. So Satya Prakash Maurya is a business solution consultant in technology. He comes with a vast experience, which is a 15 plus years of experience in test management, model based testing, software quality assurance, and quality control, and leading the cognitive test design analysis practice at the testing service line level with the technology of Vodafone. And if you want to know more about Satya Prakash, there's a link provided. You can go to our GTR website, and in the speakers tab you will find more. For each speakers you'll be finding a section. You can go through that and feel free to find more about Satya Prakash. We have an interview also there posted. Satya Prakash will be speaking on cognitive test design and analysis. So this is such an interesting topic. So without any delay, I'll hand it over to you, Satya Prakash. Please take it forward from here, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Sujay. And first of all, I'll say, Sujay, and rather I'll say, Brijesh, it was an excellent talk. What you did was an excellent, you kept people thinking what they need to do, right? So rather, if you ask me, there was no question, and I'm taking my time to say it. It was an excellent one. So people have to think what exactly it is all about, right? So let me make a start, and let me take from the point where we stop in the morning, right? So what we're going to talk about is cognitive test and analysis. Before we talk about what it is all about, in the panel discussion that we had in the morning, we had some people talking about model-based testing, people talking about world quality report, and I would invoke the same thing, right? So there was a question that was asked in 2018 and 19 people, that what is the area of interest that they want to implement. 61% said that they want to implement model-based testing. And when we talk about world quality report, most of us are in a testing retreat. We understand it's more than 1,700 people from 10 different sectors, and 32 countries had answered this question. So model-based testing is one on top. Same trend continued when we moved across to the next year's survey, that 17% still had the interest that they want to continue with model-based testing in there, right? When we move ahead and we ask the second question, what exactly you are looking so that you can increase the speed of your automation? What they said, we use automated tools to help decide what tests are running. So market, people, testers, CIOs, what they want to adopt a technology called model-based testing, and they want to use what? They want to use machines to help them make that decisions, right? With that, I would want to make a start. So the session would continue on 4 topics. First, let me try to introduce what exactly is model-based testing. We'll put a definition around what cognitive automation is all about. Then we'll talk specifically about cognitive test design analysis and some best practices, what you can do to implement at your end. All right, let's define what exactly model-based testing is all about. Right. So just like Brijesh was mentioning about user experience or the business journeys, and in the morning also we had a session for user experience. So the basic premise is we are humans and we have to think as humans. So for example, let's take a scenario where I have a calculator and the calculator is not working. What would I do? I would have to find what exactly is the error or the bug in that, right? What I do, I think about it. I have to think. I'm a human being. I will try to think about a logical flow as to why it is not working. I'll switch it on. I'll say, okay, let me see in the standard way. I started it out. Then I start and change the mode, because we are talking about a computer science scientific calculator. I check in scientific calculator. Even there, it's not working. Then I enter a number. So somebody talked about test data in the panelist call today. So I enter a test data and I see it's just not working. So I have in my mind, I have in my head that, okay, this is something, I have a problem statement. My calculator and my computer is not working. And what is happening? So this visualization of logical flow is a model and what we plan to test. So now the next step comes is that, okay, fine, I have thought in my mind, okay, this is a calculator that's not working. I have visualized about it. I have thought, okay, this can be some logical steps that I can do it. I can draw it on a paper. I can draw in a chart paper. I can draw wherever I want. There are multiple tools in the market, from Lucidchart to Xmind to so many tools are there that I can use to make a mental map outside it. And For us as a tester, for us as a community of a quality assurance, what is important? For us, the important part is the path it follows. Making a diagram, making a mental diagram, till that point, everything is fine. But the more important part is that, am I able to trace the path that is required? Why the calculator is not working? Making a model, good, but what is the path? I can hand trace it, a simple test, then from a flow, I move to a test case that, okay, this is the sequence of steps I'm going to do and come out with a test case. That I do. I'm pretty happy. But as we know, it's not simple. Life is not that simple, right? I don't have 4 steps at any point of time. I have more than that. The path becomes such complex. It goes from one point, it rotates, it goes here and there, and it goes everywhere, right? And add to it complexity. Can I do all these things by hands? For us, we have more than 1 million test cases being delivered in a month. We have, since I'm part of Vodafone, we have every project running in OSS PSS. We have a large project, we have a small project, we have complex project, we have project that run in a release, we have project that don't run in a release. So it explodes the number of testing that I have to do. It explodes the number of scenarios, the business journeys that I have to do. We were just talking about a simple scenario where I have a scientific calculator, it's not working. For building it out in a chart paper or in a tool, designing all the paths that I need to test, it becomes out of control, right? And that's why we say we can't do it. At least I can't do it. We say let's use machines. Let's use the machines which can help to us. So one of the questions what was asked rather in panel discussion in the morning was that, can machines replace? No, but machines are here that help me do this work, because as a human being I may not be able to do all this complex permutation and combination. I would be able to think a mental model how the scientific calculator is working or not working, but charting such complex paths, something that is out of our control. And that's why we need machines that help us, right? And that's what is the definition of model-based testing. Now, what is model-based testing? Is generation of test sequence from a model is a model-based testing. But let's put a scientific rigor on top of it. Yeah. Let's go by ISTQB. Most of us are ISTQB certified, and that's what one of the authority that tells us that, okay, what exactly should be a good tester, what exactly we should be knowing about it, right? So model-based testing is an advanced test approach. So we need to understand it's an advanced test approach that supports the classic test design technique. And the classic test design techniques like equivalence parting, boundary value analysis, state transition testing, and use case testing. So model-based testing is a place where we build a model to generate the test cases automatically. What it does, it improves the efficiency and the quality that is there. It designs a comprehensive model, and from the comprehensive model, test cases get automatically generated. So if I want to summarize what exactly model-based testing is, model-based testing is the process where we create a model, and from that model, automated test cases, rather automatically the test cases come out, right? Now let's move on to the second part of the question. That, okay, yeah, you talked about model-based testing, yes, but what exactly is cognitive, right? And we need to understand that part as well, that what exactly is the correct definition of cognitive. Yeah. So we have a definition for cognitive automation that is a very generic one, and most of people understand. It is a process in which software brings intelligence in the data-intensive processes. So cognitive automation is based on software bringing intelligence to information-intensive processes. When we go to the consultants like Deloitte, when we ask them what exactly is happening, so they say that it's a subset of artificial intelligence that mimics human behavior. So cognitive automation, what it is a subset of artificial intelligence that mimics human behavior. So RPA, the robotic process automation, together with cognitive technologies such as speech recognition, NLP, they perpetual and judgment based according to humans, they present something. And when we move ahead from Deloitte to IBM, the ones who created the blue, it takes a definition, adds it to a more simplistic, the one that I prefer and the one I refer more to it. So what they say, in an artificial intelligence system, the system tells a doctor which course of action they need to take based upon its analysis. But when we talk about cognitive computing, what it does, the system provides information to help the doctor. So Artificial intelligence is where it tells the doctor as well what they need to follow. And in cognitive computing, what it does, it calculates all the mechanism and it presents to it. Then it is up to us what we need to follow. And when we combine these two definitions, you see cognitive automation is a subset of artificial intelligence using specific AI techniques that mimic humans. So mimics human behavior, we still do that mimicking of human behavior. And just like in the first step, we talked about cognitive automation is a software which helps us in processing large amount of data. That's what we do. So cognitive automation is a place, it's a technology, is a way of working in which machines help to mimic the human work, to assist humans. Again, it is assisting humans, it's not replacing anything. It assists humans in making decisions, completing tasks, or meeting goals. So from here, I would want to move across to what exactly cognitive test and analysis. So we talked about two parts. First part was about model-based testing, where we get a model. From that model, we generate a test cases out of it. Second part is cognitive automation, where the automation helps us to mimic the human behavior. Right? It processes a huge amount of data and processes and gives to us. Mixing both the terms of what model-based testing is all about, what cognitive automation is about, that is what we have done, and that's what is cognitive test design and analysis. What happens here is cognitive test design analysis is the process in which test cases are derived from a model integrated with COBRA and CATS. So COBRA is the Common Oasis Basis Reference Architecture. It's a Vodafone internal reference architecture, and CATS is a repository that contains end-to-end models. So we take up reference from a reference architecture, try to understand what a good end-to-end flow looks like, refer the existing models, the business journeys that we have. And once the model is done, then it undergoes the processing. It undergoes the processing of cognitive analysis, where the different paths are presented, various possible flows, the test coverage paths are analyzed, and the best suited model test coverage is selected. So what we do, first step is we create a model. That is a business journey. From there, we generate different paths that are required. The machine tells us, recommends us, these are the different paths that you can follow. This is different coverage you can follow. And we as a tester, we as a subject matter expert, we are the best persons to understand what it is recommending. And from there, we decide. Yeah. So that is the definition of CTDA, what we have in technology wise for us, what it does. So the test creation problem that is there, the test optimization that I as a manual tester, I may not be able to solve it out. It solves me that. It does solve the problem of change management and impact analysis. We'll see about that, how it does over there. It lets me doing the risk analysis, because the different path I am presented as a end user, I can decide that, do I have that much time? If I have that much time, then only I will select that particular path and go ahead. And it also creates a traceability between a user journey that starts and the test cases that go out of it. So the entire traceability between a business thought that came, the user journey that was supposed to be done, a model is created from that model, and automated test cases generate out of it. Everything gets linked and we get it automatically. This is how the tool looks like, and some of the key features. So we are able to model the business loss. So one of the key things and the important part of model-based testing is that we don't create test cases here. Though I would say that we are doing a model-based testing, but we don't create test cases. What we do, we create business journeys. We create a journey that is what the end user would see. That is what the end user is looking for, right? That is what we do here. We have automated business rule-based test case generation. Algorithms are written that present to us. Automated requirement mapping happens, regression analysis, and risk-based testing happens. Yeah. Apart from that, what it happens, it also considers whatever artifacts you already have. Can we import that and build a model out of it? So it is able to consume reverse engineering from ALM, Excel, Visio, BPM. A lot of things are there. And what all it helps us, it increases the faster time to market, a low defect leakage, and increase in productivity. And all things are related, because I have a tool that lets me creating a business journey. It automatically generates me the test path that I require to utilize it. It links the basic requirements. It gives the impact analysis being done automatically. So everything ties up in the thing that it gives us a benefit for out of it. Yeah. When I move ahead and let me try to explain more about what CTD is all about. So we talked about model-based testing. We talked about what cognitive automation is all about. Then let's try to understand CTD is all about. That is cognitive test design and analysis. Yeah. So the first step for anything and practically everything is humans, and that is we as a tester, we as a subject matter expert, we have to be involved. So whenever user requirement comes, what we do, we go through the user requirements, we go to our reference architecture to understand how it works. We go to a repository, that is the CATS, that is a technology voice off the shelf repository that contains a big end-to-end journeys already there so that people can start from the same place. So if I want to explain it much better, I'll talk it as initialization phase, what we do. So one of the Vodafone local market, how exactly your end-to-end journey looks like, right? So just like I talked about in model-based testing, we have to think about a journey. We create a mental model. So we create it on a paper to make it much more structured. So when I talk about I want to do a customer creation, for us it's a customer creation. So I would start from a system of experience where customers start interacting. So I connect to the online channel. We have a lot of middleware interaction happening. We go to the CRM systems, we go to the billing systems, and then to the network layer. So the first step that we talked about in model-based testing is thinking about a model, thinking about how good end-to-end model looks like. That's what happens. And what happens the next step? The next step is that you have to refer some reference architecture, because I may be a subject matter expert, but I don't know the entire world. I know the things that somebody has told to me. So I need to go to a reference architecture or maybe some repository, maybe to HLD that has got all the information. Validate our understanding that this journey that we are representing, does it have everything that we require on it or not? Right? If it has got everything, good. If it has not got, it opens two questions. Question one, is the requirement that has been given to us, is it complete or not? Right? So everybody talks about shift left. This is the first part where shift left happens, that we challenge the requirement back that, okay, it is missing something. Second thing is that the flow or the model that we have thought of, maybe while designing, we overlooked that. So we have to improve our model. We have to improve, just like a test case that would have gone a full cycle, failed and come back. It gives me opportunity right now to think about it. Your model may be missing something. Add that particular component to it. From there, we move across to reusability. That is a core part of what we do here in technology wise. Think first about reusability, do a systematic reusability, then only start building on that. So what we do, so we go to our repository, that is CATS. We see, do we have existing models that have been built for that particular journey? Can we use part of that model, or can we use the model as it is, lift and shift over there, and do the customizations later on? Yeah. And then again, a big question that most of us start losing it out, but that is very important, and that's what talks about in ISTQB as well. You have to think about boundary cases. You have to think about equipartitioning. You have to think about use case, right? Similarly, we have a matrix that has already been built where different permutations and combinations that are required for a particular journey that have been thought of. So what we see on the screen here is that I am talking about a normal customer. So I'm going to a shop. I want to buy a connection from Vodafone, but I can do from multiple places. Just like we are working from home, I can do from home itself, go to online channel, or maybe I want to go to a shop, do a customer connect. I can buy a connection, but in the end, the business goal is same, buying a customer connection, right? Then products can be different. I'm just mentioning about high level products, but again, it has got more complexities when we have different plans that come into picture. And then there are scenarios as well when we talk about customer being a newly coming into the system, or is somebody who has ported in. Both the scenarios are different for technical checkpoints that come into picture, but the business journey remains same. So the context, the point is, we have to think from a business perspective. We cannot be a microscopic thoughtful that, okay, I have been given this much test case, I have to do only this much on top of it. Yeah. So if I move back to the process of how cognitive test and analysis happens, the first step is all about getting a user requirement, referencing the reference architecture that you have, end journeys that you have built about it, and then apply your user knowledge. That's why we still need testers. That's why I'll not say testers, that's why we need people. We need subject matter expert. We as a quality assurance who know more of the business, we need to be there, put our thoughts on top of it, right? And from there, we move across, we create detailed flows and subflows. So what exactly are detailed flows and subflows all about? So when we're talking about create a customer, so this is a scenario, same thing. We go to the tool, we already did the brainstorming, right? In the previous step, where we checked all our repository, where we discussed everything. The next step is going to the tool. So step one was planning, then going to the tool. We create a flows like this, so you can use any of the tool that is available in the market. The one we are using is a Broadcom ARD because it is something that matched our needs, right? So we build a model like this, customer purchasing. It's a business journey for different products and customers. So now the beauty part of this doing a journey is that you are able to think of all the edge cases. You are not restricted on a particular test case that has come out. You are building a journey. From there, the different test cases automatically gets generated, including the test steps that are required, right? And from there, we use the cognitive part of the tools, and that is one of the optimization techniques, one of the features of the tool that we use. Different optimization techniques like full coverage or maximal coverage, or even putting probability on the paths that are covered, right? And we are able to see visualizing. So rather than having 100 line of test steps, I can see visually where exactly my flow is happening. For us, what we understand, what I have read somewhere and what I have felt as well is, if I show visual, there is 70% more chances for that it to be trained rather than writing so much text. So something that is being given in front of you, you are able to relate it more, right? Different optimization techniques, when we talk about it, talks about from all nodes, all edges, in out edges, all pairs and all possible paths. So different coverage is there based upon your requirement. So once you create a model, the same model you can use for sanity, the same model you can use for smoke, the same model you can use for full regression or progression testing for that matter. Yeah. Moving back, so we create detailed flows and subflows. We apply different constraints, filters, criticality. So creating a model may be task first, but there are a lot of other tasks that are required to finally get the output that you require out of it, right? So you define constraint, filters, you put a path probability on top of that, which path the testing is going to happen, has got more probability of doing it. It also involves about when you talk about performance testing, you have to think about that as well, that most users are going to log in, how many hits are going to happen. You can also add that particular component here. Then we have a path impact analyzer, including suggestions to fix. So I'll just go back and show what we mean by path impact analyzer. So once we create a model, the different test case paths generate out of it, right? And whenever we add a new component or remove a component out of it, what we see, the path impact analyzer, it tells us that since you changed a component, the entire test suite that you have built, you already have it, it has broken. So it gives a suggestion that, do I want to do it what tool is telling, or do I want to fix manually? We can pretty much do it. Yeah, it also has got a version control, and just like we understand that configuration management is a very important thing. So between the versions, so I deployed version 1.0 in production, and after 3 releases I want to go back because something happened. I can go back and see what components has changed, and if I want to retrieve back to the old models, just like the configuration management that we do in coding. Yeah. Once we have path impact analyzer, then we also have a cost, complexity, and coverage. So the tool also tells us about what is the cost if you are going to use this particular set. It also tells about the coverage that is being happening from a minimal coverage to the maximal coverage, and what is the cost behind that. So based upon that, you pretty much can define what you want to do. Do you want to do a full one, or you don't have that much, you want to do a minimal one? Yeah, this is the build phase, and from there there's further one more step, because model is fine, but for us important is generation of a test case, because the test case is something that I'm going to utilize, right? So that is what is the configuration phase. I have export and automation. So first I can export it manual test cases. So manual test cases I can export to ALM, I can export to Excel, I can export it to Jira, and there are a lot of other tools that is there, because that is a test management tool where we exactly the testers are going to start execution. Apart from that, we have also integration with the automation. What it means, yeah. Let's go that and see that. So creating a manual test case is good, but as we know, and the question that was asked in the panel discussion today morning was 20% world qualities report is saying only 20% automation I'm able to achieve, right? Why we are pretty much behind it? Because the automation that we start very late, right? We let the environment be built, then we start doing the automation. Why don't we take an approach? While I'm building a business journey, while I'm building a model, let me attach the codes. That is what we are doing here in cognitive test analysis. Generating model-based test cases, manual test cases from model-based is good, but we are also generating automated test cases as well out of it, right? So we have code snippets, we attach to it, snippets attached to it, and when once the test cases, the path is generated, so whatever snippets are attached behind different blocks, we get an end-to-end script like this. So at the same go, what we get a manual test cases plus we get an automation script as well. So from a user requirement that have been built to the point we build an end-to-end model. From there we continue, right? We continue and build models that are interlinked with each other. From there we generate a manual scripts that can be sent to any automation tool, plus we can also generate an automation script that can be utilized for it, right? And I would want to show one more thing before we move ahead. So how does it fit into the big picture? How does it reduce the maintenance? How does it help me more rather than writing a test case in a tool, right? So it is a business journey that we build. We don't build test cases first. When we say business journeys, we understand everybody is talking about microservices, everybody is talking about Lego blocks and everything else as well. So if some of you may have heard about the Gartner conference that they were talking about the same thing. They were talking about how exactly we containerize things, how exactly we create Lego blocks, right? This is what we have. So when we build a business journey, we have multiple subflows. We create elemental components that are self-contained. We create models for that, so that when I want to do a business journey, I link them. I don't have to worry about that. I have another business journey, so possibly it takes some components from already created business journey. My time gets saved. Reusability is high. Then there is another scenario which may be taking one component, not both of them. And there is a possibility of a scenario which doesn't take any of them. What does it mean? We invest once. We create low element blocks that are self-contained, that have complete dependency among themselves. We build a model of that particular flow. But for business journey, we stitch them. And in future, whenever there is a change that is happening on one subflow, it changes everything. You don't have to go to 10 places to change it. Second thing, when we was on the same page, let me go back to the same page, we are talking about path impact analyzer. What it does is one flow that has changed, it would reflect that, okay, this much impact has happened into your 10 journeys or 20 journeys, whoever is reflected. So at the same time, we are able to do the risk analysis, we are able to do the impact analysis, and everything gets fixed, rather than we have a broken suite of test cases that is not usable to anybody. Yeah. So if I want to summarize, another I would want to summarize here is that we merge model-based testing with the cognitive part, cognitive automation. We use the subject matter experts, which you have the knowledge built over the time, plus they also reference to the architecture that is given and come up with a piece that is actually usable. Not a test case that is built once and forgotten. Not a test suite that is utilized, that is not automable. Here we are thinking of an approach where we can automate from the first step. How do we take the first step where we build an element block, where we can write an automation snippet behind it, and then when we get environment, run it like that. Yeah. Okay. So before rather than summarize, I would want to talk about a misleading concepts and the pitfalls. And this is again taken directly from what exactly is there in ISTQB. Plus, it is also there in the World Quality Report for 2019 and 20. And it's not a pitfalls from only MBT, but a general automation. Why people are not able to do the correct automation, right? First thing is that there is no magic bullet. What it is mean? It doesn't mean that you adopt model-based testing, all the problems are going to be solved, because model-based testing supports the testing processes. That means you still have to think about equivalence partitioning, you have to think about boundary analysis, you have to think about use cases, how those are going to be generated from model. It's just a matter of tooling. So this is the biggest myth of all. And why I say it's biggest myth, because there are so many tools out in the market. Industries have so much money, they can purchase a tool. Would it succeed? No, it would not succeed buying a tool. You need to have a planning behind it. You need to have defined a proper structure, how exactly your models are going to build, how exactly your journeys are going to build. You cannot have a test case being built in a model. If you do that, you will fail it. Second thing is that buying a tool and not having your stakeholders on board, then again, you are going to fail on top of that. Right? So model-based testing doesn't solve everything. Secondly, buying a tool out of the market, again, you will not get that magic bullet that, okay, everything is solved now, I bought the tool, I would reach the tops of what automation is about. You still have to think about it. Models are always correct. Again, a very wrong myth. That's why we talk about people. That's why we talk about subject matter experts. And just like in business analysis, just like anywhere it said, if you put a garbage in, you get a garbage out. Because It's not a self-intelligent system. It is something that you have given a data input to into it, and that's how you get a model out of it. So models are always correct is a myth. And the final one, test case explosion will occur. So this is something that you have to be very careful. So when we talk about model, we build the models, you get test cases automatically. It should not be a case where you get test cases, very huge number of test cases. You have to put proper constraints. You have to put proper filters behind it. You have to think about logic. If I am creating this model, what is my intention? Just like Prijesh was asking previously, why do you want to do this test strategy? Why are you creating this documentation? Similarly, you have to think about what test cases you have to generate, why you have to generate. Otherwise, it's gone. You have to kill all those myths, then only you can proceed ahead. Wow. Some key to enablements. So first is the people. You have to have people who know things. You have to have people who can think about it in designing perspective, not a testers for that. Second thing is that you have to have a setup enablers like architecture references and end-to-end journeys, and you need to train teams on modeling and automation. And third thing is business value. So that means when you get your stakeholders only when you mention to them a return of investment. So you have to think it upfront, what exactly it is, how exactly build a team, get 3+ years experience, prefer background, QA automation tools. So what you need is people to understand logically. That is the summary for that. Right, and Sujay, I'm just finishing up my last slide, so you don't have to worry about that. Right, so
Yeah,
the key,
because I could see there are a few questions
yes,
already on slide, so we can take that in last 5 minutes.
yeah. So just the last slide, just to summarize what exactly we meant about CTDA. Yeah, what it is. So it's aligning to a framework to build end-to-end flow knowledge and enabling creation of optimized model. Right, how we do it again, I stick away. I'll not run through that too much, but first part, involving as early as possible. Second thing is that find design and specifying bugs before the code exists. You don't have to go last. Yeah. Third thing is all about it matches coverage goal to testing budget, because we talked about that. Okay, you have a suit that is being built, then you ask about it that okay, does it match what I can actually risk doing, spending time on that. I have to think about. Second, and the important part of this is that whenever a change happens, it passes quickly, right? And the final one, and the very important one, excellent collaboration between technical and non-technical teams. Personally, I feel that, I'm not sure about others, but whenever I create a diagram, whenever I create a drawing, people understand much more quicker rather than write a test case in 100-page Word document, which people are not interested to even read through. Give them a one-page flowchart, which they understand. I take it back, generate a test case. It's easier to teach our testing teams. It's easier to tell the business as well on top of that. Right, some acknowledgement and references, and if somebody wants to connect, pretty much they're on the LinkedIn, and just like Sujay mentioned in the starting, it is there on the GTR as well. And the questions, let's take that. We had some questions, right?
Yeah, so let me share my screen. I'll
Yeah,
just take a screen hold, Satya Prakash.
yeah.
Give me please let me
Oh,
know once you see my screen. Sorry,
yeah, it's visible.
it's visible. Okay, so maybe there are 3 questions. You can read out and then maybe answers as and when.
Okay, so let me take Mehul's question first. So he's asking, I suppose it's a he. I may have misunderstood. In case, sorry for that one. So when we talk about agile is all about speed, right? And the tool that we have bought is Agile Requirement Designer. But if I be very specific to your question, in agile, it is a role which we have very short time to deliver, right? So if a model has already been built by the system, and if my user story pertains to that, it is quicker for me to change in a model rather than creating a test case from scratch. So it is a very successful in agile, and the tool had been built very specific for that. It's not overhead to achieve speed. Any tools recommended for MBT? There are a lot of them, but I would not say, but I'll tell you what all we assessed. So when we were doing in Vodafone, we did a RFP and we tried to assess, so we assessed about, we assessed the Broadcom ART that we finally took about it. We took this thing, Cognizant's AdPart, we had a Conformic one as well, and then there's a Tricentis as well. But all the tools have their own features. It depends upon what your requirements are there. So everything has got a pro and con. What helps you is that helps you. Right. Sarvesh is asked to implement MBT. What are the basic requirements for application architecture and tools to be used? Right. So when we say about MBT, the first thing and the important thing is that you have to have your background, what you want to exactly build. When I say background, is all about end-to-end architecture. So I have heard stories about from 3 or 4 stakeholders where they said they bought a tool and they were not able to implement. So what you need to do is you need to have people who understand at least a high level of what architecture is, then collaborate. So everything is all about collaborate with your business analysts, collaborate with your development teams, and understand and improve your models as we go ahead with it. Yeah.
Cool. And the
And
last question is from
yeah,
Omkar.
Omkar, right. So Omkar, so rather it's a very apt question, rather I'll say. So there are multiple stakeholders that we have. So when we say multiple stakeholders, we have testers in our team, we have business, and we have senior executives as well. Other one, C-level executives, right? So when I talk about C-level executives, they would not want to see the granularity of the test cases. When I go to the business team, they would want to see a particular level of granularity. So I present to them. And when I talk about my testing team, they want to see the entire granularity because they are the ones who are going to generate it. So when we create a model, we create flows, we create subflows out of it. Based upon the requirement, we arrange the blocks differently. So if I want to give it to my senior leaders, I would give them only the high level blocks that contains the minimal information. When I want to give to business, I would give them the blocks that contain the technical checkpoints. And if I want to my testing team, I would give them the most details that they want on.
Cool. So I think we have all the questions answers. Thanks, guys, for posting those questions, and thanks, Prakash, for giving this talk. It was really informative, and yeah, I know it's a small, it's a huge topic, and we just covered a bunch, basically a tip of that, in the drop of that in the big question. So, but however, thanks for giving that and summarizing this talk. So yeah, you want to.
Thank you, Sujay, and thanks ATA team for giving this opportunity to spread the message.
Thanks.
Thank you.